We're back now with a fitting farewell to former U.S. Senator Herb Kohl. A public memorial Friday at Fiserv Forum in downtown Milwaukee. The arena Kohl contributed $100 million toward building when he sold the Milwaukee Bucks. Kohl, early on best known for supermarkets and department stores, won 4 statewide elections in Wisconsin, serving in the U.S. Senate from 1989 to 2013. The last time we talked with Senator Kohl was during the Bucks championship parade in 2021 when he talked with Matt.
How are you feeling today?
This is once in a lifetime, isn't it? It's a once in a lifetime occasion. Everybody is happy. It's great for Milwaukee, great for the people who live here. Doesn't happen but once.
Senator, you are credited for saving this team not once but twice. How are you feeling?
I feel real good about the team, about the experience I've had as an owner. But this is all about our fans and our people who live in Milwaukee. I'm privileged to live here, and I appreciate all the good things that have happened because of the people who live in Milwaukee. We're a great community.
What are you hoping for in this parade today as you roll down this street?
I can't believe all the people. I just cannot believe all the people that have turned out for this occasion. It says a lot about who we are as Milwaukeeans. We're a special people, and we deserve this occasion.
Let's bring in Chuck Pruitt now, a longtime friend of Senator Kohl. Chuck, thanks so much for being here.
Good to be here.
So we just heard from the late Senator Herb Kohl there talking about the people. He really loved Milwaukee and Wisconsin.
He did. It was so much a part of everything he did from beginning to end. You know, one of the interesting things about his life was each chapter built on the next chapter. He was obviously highly successful in business, and out of that came a decision to go into public service, and he ran the first time. He said, you know, if you send me to the Senate, I'll work my heart out every day to do what's right, and I'll be nobody's senator but yours.
What will you miss most about your friend?
You know, we had lunch or breakfast almost every week for the last 38 years. So I'm going to miss lunch or breakfast because it was a special time. And he was a remarkable man with a remarkable humility and an understated way about it, a wicked sense of humor, and somebody that had so many friends and so many people who loved him and wanted the best for him. But I'm going to miss the lunches.
Outside of maybe sharing a meal with Senator Kohl, is there a story or a favorite memory you have that someone else might not even know about?
Well, a lot. 38 years of lunches is there are a lot of stories. But I think, I don't know, one that always captured me is, you know, when soon after he was elected to the Senate, he decided to open Herb's Superb Milk House at the State Fair. It was a milk house that sold flavored milk to promote the dairy industry. And we talked to him about how much he wanted to charge. And he said, well, let's charge 25 cents a cup, and then let's have a 2-for-1 coupon so people can get 2 cups for the price of 1. And after the first State Fair, we came to him, we said, you know, we did it. We did your pricing strategy, and we lost a lot of money on the milk house. And he just looked up, smiled, and said, yep, losing money in every cup, but making it up in volume. And I think in so many ways that was an expression of his desire to give back. And
everybody loves the milk house to this day at the State Fair. In a recent interview, you said, quote, his ability to never look back and always look forward and always build on the things that he had done with the hopes of doing something important were really the key hallmarks of his life. What is his legacy going to be across the state of Wisconsin?
Wow. Enormous. I mean, I think that, I think that never look back. I mean, in addition, after he was in the Senate, obviously, he came back to Wisconsin, and his principal goal at that time was to make sure that the Milwaukee Bucks never left, even though he knew he couldn't own them forever. And so he found owners who were committed to keeping him here, and he made his own commitment to building a new arena, which was critical. And so clearly that legacy, and then the other legacy that will live on and continues to live on is his philanthropic efforts. I mean, he's given millions and millions of dollars with a special focus on education. That's going to be a continuing legacy that people will always remember Herb Kohl for.
Well, where do you think that he would fit into today's political atmosphere?
I think it would be hard. I think we talked a lot about it, and I think he was very troubled by some of the trends that have happened, particularly in the last 8 or 10 years in Washington, across the country. But it's one of the reasons that one of his priorities has been to support the University of Wisconsin La Follette School of Public Policy. He has contributed over $10 million to try to help their work. And I think he really was always remaining committed. One of the hallmarks of his Senate career was to look for bipartisan solutions to problems.
What's the one thing that you hope that we can all take from a look back at his life and legacy?
That, you know, one of the precepts of his life is you will always be measured more by what you contribute than by what you have. And so contribute, give something back, and what comes back to you will be 10 times more than you gave.
Chuck Pruitt, a longtime friend of the late Senator Herb Kohl, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jaron.
Up next, the push for a new casino in Kenosha. A key vote just days away. Is the support there? And what about the governor? Kenosha County Executive Samantha Kirkman is standing by next.